Let's face it, you can't always be in the ham shack to turn the big knob. Sometimes you're going to be on the go. You're going to be somewhere where you can't get to your ham radio station. Well, you can run your ham station from anywhere with your Android phone and the RCForb app. Let's take a look at how it works. First thing to do, select it. It opens up the station list. The ones that you see in yellow are highlighted because they're in favorites and they always show up at the top of the list. I like to set this up by right-clicking on one of the stations to bring up a menu that allows us to put it in a favorites list here so that it shows up. And I'm going to be using the same stations pretty much all the time, so it helps to have them up near the top of the list. Alright, we'll go to the WA0TDA IC7300, which is right here, so we can see what's going on. Click it. There's a welcome message. We'll say OK to dismiss the message. And we can see that the radio is powered off. Go to the menu, select Buttons. Now we see a power button. We're going to turn it on. And we see that there is a slight delay, and then the radio comes on, and I hear some static. As I turn the radio dial using the radio locally, the display changes on the remote. So if I'm using the radio locally, this is going to take precedence in operation, and what's happening is going to show up in the Android app. Alright, but let's try changing the frequency. What I do is I just put my finger over the frequency here. It brings up the regular interface with the tuning dial, which we can use to change frequency up or down. But if we know a frequency that we're going to be going to, we can just click on this again and a keypad shows up. Now we can direct enter a frequency, 7.258, let's say. Enter. Okay, now we have another frequency on 40 meters. You can see that the radio has changed to 7.258, and it is on lower sideband. If we needed to change that locally, of course, with an IC7300, we would just click on here, and that brings up our selections. But if we're going to change it here, then we just click on LSB in the display. That brings up our select mode list, and we have a long list: lower sideband, upper sideband, AM, CW, RIDI, FM, and so forth. So we select lower sideband, and there we go. The S meter reading is here. This is VFO-A. The smaller number is VFO-B. And at any time, we can change the tuning rate with the switch or the button here. It gives us a drop down of 10 Hertz, 100 Hertz, 1 kilohertz, and so forth. And then there's a tune button we can use to tune. I'm going to just move off that frequency and see if we can find a nice clear frequency. This one looks pretty good. Okay, so now we're going to hit the tune button. The tuner has activated very quickly, and now this is tuned up, and I'm going to identify. WA0TDA test. As you can see, the station has an external LDG AT200 Pro Auto Tuner, but the tuning button works as normal as if we were using the internal tuner on the IC7300. The reason for this is the LDG has a wider tuning range, so it allows the radio to be used from 160 meters through 6 meters, its entire range. The LDG Auto Tuner also has automatic memory recollection, so now that I've tuned on 7.246, it will remember that frequency and tune nearly instantly when I press the tuner button. So this should not take up much time trying to find a correct match to the antenna. However, you may find that when you press the tune button, it does take a while as it seeks a good tuning match, and this would be for a frequency that nobody has tuned to before, so it wasn't in the LDG's memory. If the auto tuner keeps working and grinding away and working, that means something's wrong. So you should notify the station administrator, that's me, WA0TDA, Whiskey Alpha Zero Tango Delta Alpha, at arrl.net, and let me know that something is wrong with the antenna. At that point, you should shut the station down and discontinue using it until you get a response that the problem has been fixed. Moving on to some of the other features of the Android app, even though we are connected here to the WA0TDA station, you can go to the Remotes tab and still see the other stations. Notice WA0TDA IC7300 is blinking white to yellow, and that means that we are connected to that station. What you don't want to do is try to connect to another station while you are on this station. That kind of messes things up, so don't do it. Go back to the radio tab and disconnect from here. And how do you disconnect? Well, you can just use the left arrow and it will give you an option to disconnect, and you can go ahead and do that. You can go to the menu and go to the buttons, and just click the power. It will turn off. The radio says power off, and the screen has gone dark here. But let's take a look here at what else there is. Chats. This has the chat function, so this is like you can chat with anybody else who's connected to the radio at the time. Control Op WA0TDA, this says here, and in this box it shows WA0TDA. I'm the first user, and A for administrator. It would be an X if it was just a user. So all of the stations connected should show up in this little box over here. And with that going on, you can see who's connected. There's also a connection to a DX cluster, and it's not populated right now. This is connect, filter, band, and mode. So you can hit connect, and we get can't connect to server. So that means we probably have to find another one. And then there's a www, and that, as you can see, is the World Wide Web, and I just happen to have that set for QRZ. Okay, we can go back this way to radio and power on. Notice it takes a little bit of time after I hit the power button for the radio to actually come on. When the screen lit up, it showed the power level was at 34%. That means probably somebody was using lower power before. So I'm going to change the power by going to the sliders. I look down the list of all the sliders I've got here, and I see RF power. Oh, sure enough. All right, so let's zip that up to 100. And now if I check on the radio, the RF power is set to 100%. Typically, when you're using sideband, you want to use between 75 watts and 100 watts somewhere. The microphone gain should be close to 60%. I like to use compression, which is set at 3, and that's turned on. The compression level is settable here in the sliders. It's set to 32, and that's a pretty good setting right there. Let's go back to the menu, and let's take a look at the drop-downs. In the drop-downs, we see lower sideband, filter is set to wide, AGC set to slow. If you're using sideband and things sound kind of funny, you might check the AGC. So if I set it here with the drop-down, I can use fast, medium, or slow. And what I like is slow for sideband. Preamp is off. I seldom use it, but there may be band conditions when you want to use a preamp. Attenuator is off, but again, if the band is quite noisy and it improves the listening quality, you might try the attenuator if your signals are strong enough on receive. Transmit meter always seems to default to ALC. If you like that, that's fine. Transmit meter is going to show up here. Here it's showing the S meter reading S7 or 8 noise level, so 40 meters is kind of noisy today. And the ALC is there for receive, but when you transmit, you might want to see the SWR or the compression or the power level. And so here's the power level. If I go ahead and transmit, our power should show up here. The line should go over further as we modulate. So let's try that. First, I'm going to just use the radio. No, I think we tuned it last time, so we don't need to do that. Let's just use the push to talk here. WA0 TDA testing. Okay, I don't know if you could see that or not. WA0 TDA test. Back to receive. It looks like we got up to about 98 watts on the power meter, so that's working perfectly. And I find that to be more helpful to see what's going on. Kind of a caution when you're using a station like this. Let's go back to that menu. When you're using a station like this, you can have fat finger syndrome on these phones. You know, the buttons aren't that big and you can easily press the wrong one. So this is about the simplest interface here, this one with the big dial, because it's got a big push to talk button. That's easy to use. And mind the delay. The internet delay can change from day to day, but once you get used to it, you can operate pretty effectively on single sideband with this kind of a system. CW, you're not going to get instant break-in, but CW does work. FT8 is more problematic because of the internet delay. It's always better to be right in your shack, connected to your own radio, to synchronize with the internet time and make sure that you're within just a few milliseconds of the internet time so that you can make more contacts on FT8. People often ask me about FT8 on these RCForb apps and things, and it can be done, but you have to set up virtual audio cables and things like that, and then it doesn't work great even after all that work. So I recommend sticking to single sideband. AM RTTY is I don't know, problematic. Some of these modes you have to turn the power down because it's got a high duty cycle. You can use 100 watts with sideband. You can have that set up for CW, but for any of these kind of key down modes like FT8 or RTTY, you want to use probably 25 watts or so and not crank it up, which is not good for the radio. Okay, let's see. Talking a little bit more about CW, you will find in the menu, just go back to the menu if you've got a question about anything and see what's there. CW right here, and this has your encoder. You can put using your phone like this a test message in here and your call sign, and then you just hit send and it should send it out. The decoder, I don't really use that. My ear is the decoder. But anyway, so that's how you send and receive CW. One thing though, if I sent a message out right now, filled this out, it would not work. And you can spot the reason why I have not changed it over to CW. So you can do that like so. Now this is on CW. Got about an S2 noise level. And there you go. That's CW. So I'm going to change that mode back to lower sideband and menu, frequency, and then I'm out of the CW mode altogether and I'm ready to tune around on sideband. If the tuning is too fast for you, you can change from 1 kilohertz to let's see, what is about at 10 hertz is very slow tuning. 100 hertz is what a lot of people do use for a little fine tuning, so you can do that. Again, this is the interface that I like for most of my use because it's got the big, nice push to talk. It's got the dial right here that you can fudge around on a little bit if you want to make things work. Got your S meter, mode, both VFO readings, and you can use the tune button right here to tune the antenna quite easily. When I'm ready to leave, I can use this arrow on the bottom on here on Android to back out. It'll say, do you want to disconnect? I say yes, and instantly the sound goes away, and there we are. If I want to get back to the station remote list, I just go like so, and I can try a different station. Or I can just back out. It'll say, are you sure you want to exit? Yes. And away you go. Now you may wonder why the radio is still on here. Am I being an irresponsible user for not turning it off? Well, sometimes the radio owner will ask you to turn the radio on and off manually. And if that's the case, you should do so. But in this particular setup, it's set up for the radio to stay on for a couple of minutes after you disconnect, and then it shuts itself off. So if you're using station KB0SCE up north, remote station, run by the Stillwater Amateur Radio Association, there it powered off. If you're using that station, it does not power off, it just runs. And you can power it off manually if you want, but the club doesn't have any particular policy about being required to shut it off. And some people just like to let it run, and then it's always ready to go, and you can listen to it. On station W0 Juliet Hotel, which the Stillwater Amateur Radio Association operates, that one you will find that it's set up like this one. If you use the station, you power it on. If you disconnect and leave it on, it'll shut itself off. Or you can turn it off with the power button on your Android phone. It doesn't matter, and we don't care. So there you are, a little bit about using the Android app to operate remote hams and what's actually happening on the radio. If you have any questions, email me at WA0TDA, that's Whiskey Alpha Zero Tango Delta Alpha, at ARRL.net, and I'll be glad to help you out. 73, and happy operating.